Welcome to the Going North podcast, where you will be informed, encouraged, and empowered to embrace your dreams and advance in life through authorship. I'm your host, best-selling author of the book Stay the Course, and certified leadership trainer, Dom Brightman. Be sure to check out the goods and services from every guest, as well as the host himself, yours truly. Now let the fun begin. And today on the Going North podcast and one of the Christmas Eve specials, it's going to be one heck of an author, baby. It's a host-to-host bonus special as well, because not only we have a author who's got two amazing books, we also have a fellow podcast host who is in the STEM field, baby. And my goodness, he's one heck of a powerhouse, because not only is the author of one book that teaches public speaking, especially for the engineers who are not known for speaking, he also has another super fabulous, awesome book called Ask Uncle Neil, baby. And this wonderful kid's book, my goodness, one heck of a kid's book. Like when he told me about his wonderful book and the message about it, I'm like, you know what? I got to have this guy on. So let's give it up for Mr. NT himself, my man, Neil Thompson. How you doing today, sir?
Doing well, Dom. How are you?
Doing well indeed, even without the extra water. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, as with all introductions, you know they're not allowed to be 7.5 days long, so mind filling in any cavities I missed about the natural Neil himself?
Sure. I worked for a number of years as a engineer in the medical device industry, and I did that for about 10 years or so, and then I stopped doing that, and then I had to figure out what I wanted to do next. And writing that children's book was one of those things that essentially I followed my interests. I was always kind of interested in patents, because even when I was an engineer, I received one. So I eventually became a patent agent, which is someone who drafts and prosecutes patent applications. And even drawing from my days as an engineer, a couple of former coworkers and I formed a company which helps medical device companies with their packaging projects. So there's that as well. And then, of course, I already mentioned the children's book. And then also there's Teach the Geek, which is my online platform for science and engineering professionals. And I built a course through the platform for engineers and scientists. And it's called Teach the Geek to Speak. And it helps engineers with their public speaking. So these are the three things that I have going on currently. And who knows, maybe I'll add some more.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you'll be adding lots more indeed, lots more indeed. And the beautiful thing about it is that you're able to really take the power of engineering and all of your love for STEM and actually turn yourself into, heck, probably a black belt's public speaker. Because I believe are you still a fellow Toastmaster, if I'm not mistaken?
I was a Toastmasters for a number of years. I haven't actually been a member of a club for some years now, but I'm a big proponent of Toastmasters because it offers a great forum to practice your public speaking.
Amen about that. Definitely. I'm in the same boat with you, my friend, because Toastmasters, my goodness, that's like a laboratory, and it's a great one that you need to be honest, everyone needs to take advantage of, because everybody should join Toastmasters and spend some time in there and get better and not better.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully you're not too sensitive about all your filler words, because with the clubs that I was a member of, they actually had an odd counter. So every time you used any kind of filler word like or so, or they'd click this thing and you actually have to pay money. So you definitely got a lot better with your fillers over time. No one's trying to go broke.
Yeah, I've been in one of those clubs that did that. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make sure I am extra careful not say anything.
Yeah, that's true. If you don't say anything, you get to keep your money in your pocket. That's for sure.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, my goodness, man. So all that confidence, starting a company with your partner and taking all of your expertise, you actually now have this wonderful book out for the kids, man. Something for the kids, and not just any kids. It's for the black kids about titled Why Is My Hair Curly? So tell us a bit more about that wonderful book.
Sure. Yeah, the book is called Ask Uncle Neil, Why Is My Hair Curly? And it's about my nephew asking me why his hair is the way it is. And I use science to answer the question. The motivation for writing the book was, or the goal of writing the book was to encourage more Black kids to at least consider careers in STEM because we're highly underrepresented in that field. And I firmly believe that if Black kids had the confidence early on to know that there are no careers that are off limits to them, they would consider those careers. And that's essentially was what was the goal of the book. The book is aimed for children around ages 5 to 8, and I put it at that age because at that age you still believe that you can do anything. And I figured if you had that confidence back then, as you get older, it would be a lot more difficult for any naysayers to tell you otherwise.
Amen to that, because we need more of that, especially in the black community. Because I'm pretty sure you know just as much, if not more, than me about the fact that folks like to sell us on the only ways to really get out of like the hood or really to become a success is to really be a ball player, be like an athlete, or be a rapper, or like even a movie star.
Yeah, and I definitely had to find another. At least me personally had to find another route because I can't rhyme and I have no jump shot.
Another trait we both share, my friend.
Yeah, I'm guessing a lot of us are in the same boat.
Yes, indeed. It's like just because someone's 6 feet, that doesn't mean they know how to bowl. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And it's great that you're doing that, and folks really need that example. So, is there going to be another book in the series, the Ask Uncle Neil series?
Yeah, I plan on it. So this was the first book in what I hope to be a series, and in each book, it'll be my nephew asking me a question, and I use science to answer it.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So, I'm guessing the curly hair was the first question, or was that the easiest question you could tackle first off, since that was your first book about the curly hair?
It wasn't an easy question, actually. I thought when I first thought of the idea, I thought it would be an easy answer, but it turns out it wasn't. There's quite a number of theories as to why his hair is the way it is. And I actually go into that in the book. And even when I found that out, I was kind of concerned that not having a definitive answer might be an issue. But from someone that I actually spoke to who is a scientist, she said that this is actually a great opportunity to teach kids about scientific consensus. With a lot of the
Mm.
things that exist in science and in research, one person could do an experiment, but if another group can't replicate those results, what that first group did isn't considered law or considered scientific fact. You need to have consensus from a significant number of scientists for it to be considered scientific fact. So that was actually kind of a blessing in disguise when it came to writing the book.
That's freaking awesome. And I'm glad that discovery happened because it's so true about the whole science thing. Because I'm pretty sure there's still more for us to discover. So, any parts of the book that you're willing to let some of the adults know who may not know themselves of why certain folks may have curly hair?
Sure. Well, it may have to do with the amount of oil that's in Black people's hair. It's slightly less, or it could be the fact that Black people originated close to the equator, so the proximity to the sun might have a reason as to why we evolutionarily developed that way. So those are just two of the theories that I mentioned in the book as to why our hair could possibly be the way it is.
Ah, yeah, that's solar power, baby. That's right.
Yeah, for sure. Apparently, it doesn't really go away. I mean, even if you're a Black person living in Siberia, your hair is still probably going to be the way it is, all the way because of your ancestors in Africa. Who knew?
Amen to that. That's right. Got to thank the ancient lands of Kemet, baby.
Yeah, yeah, Shaka Zulu, all of that. Yeah. Thank you to
Well,
the ancestors.
amen to that. And definitely got to commend you for that. And it's definitely true about that. Like, it seems like ancestry and geography is just about anything. And heck, that can even mean for like how the future is going to be for folks, depending on what they do about their geography and ancestry, because it's like we're really come from kings and queens, and basically in our current geography, at least in the certain parts of the world where some folks may see us as evil, but that may not be the case. And being able to rise above from that is definitely going to be a gift, and you're helping folks to do that, my man.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. And just to add to that, as you said, a lot of it we come from kings and queens, and if we see ourselves as that, we'll force other people to see us as that as well because we'll carry ourselves that way.
Yes, sir, indeed. Yes, sir, indeed. So, what really inspired you to get inside the STEM field, my man? What really inspired you? Was it the discovery of not having a jump shot?
Well, I certainly had to figure out something after realizing that, a 5'8" black dude with no jump shot probably has no shot in the NBA. But honestly, I ended up in engineering because my father said I should go into engineering. I used to lie about that, by the way, because I thought it was a very wasn't the best I wasn't the best reason as to why people go into engineering. Because I often heard people when they talk about the reasons to go into engineering, it's always something interesting. They studied, I mean, they were always interested in it as a child, or maybe they were part of a robotics club when they were in high school, something cool. They played with Legos when they were a kid. I never really played with Legos. I wasn't a member of the robotics club. I wasn't even all that great at math and science, really. It's just that I guess my father saw engineering as a stable career. So he said, do that. And I said, okay. And it's not as if I had any other ideas as to what I wanted to do.
Amen. Amen, indeed. So that's pretty interesting. It's like father was like, "Hey, you're gonna be an engineer, buddy." It's like, "No, Daddy, I don't want. You're going to be an engineer." All right, Daddy.
Yeah,
Now
that's how it went. Although there wasn't any pushback, I was just like, all right, I'll do it. Engineer it is. All right, let's go.
exactly. It might have been the belt until you became an adult, I guess, if you did have pushback, right? Or should I say the rod?
No, run, all of that stuff, man. I mean, hopefully parents these days are a little more lenient. I mean, there's other forms of discipline, damn it, put them in the corner or something, or timeout. I heard about timeout. It sounds good.
Oh yeah, a lot healthier too, less psychological damage.
No doubt. Save on the therapy bills for sure.
Oh man, that's what I'm talking about. So following your dad's instructions, able to take it, hold it, and love it for yourself. So do you feel like engineering was the best decision for you to make so far in your years on the planet?
Luckily, it worked out. So I ended up going to, doing engineering. I studied materials engineering, and actually, it wasn't the worst decision in the world. It certainly opened a lot more doors than I thought it could. Engineering is a lot more versatile than people perhaps give it credit for. There are engineers that are doing all kinds of different jobs, and we can, as engineers, we can do a whole bunch of different jobs, but people can't do ours. So I worked in medical devices and I worked in product development, but you had engineers that worked in other parts of the business, not just product development. You had engineers in marketing, you had them in sales, you had them in regulatory affairs, quality, all throughout the organization. But it's not as if a marketing person could become an engineer or a salesperson become an engineer. It didn't work that way.
Ah, that's good indeed. That's good indeed. Because it's been a while, but we did have a past engineer on the show, Amy Simpkins, and she I've had a big difference in life where she actually, as a kid, someone would tell her, like, hey, you think big thoughts and that engineers love hugs. And it's like, wow. So it's really good to know that it's a bigger world out there for engineers than people think.
Yeah. Did you say engineers love hugs?
Yeah, according to her. Now, this was pre COVID, of course.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Pre COVID.
Yeah, now it's engineers like, I don't know, elbow bumps.
So, do you love hugs, Neil?
Pre-COVID. Yeah, not right now. I don't know you like that. I don't know where you've been. Come on now. How about an air hug? An air hug sounds good. No contact. Cool.
Oh man. Yep. Yes, indeed. Well, trying to head back north here. So, being able to take your engineering ability and parlay it into multiple areas, especially for STEM. So, any advice for those who are looking to become engineers in the future as a pathway for success?
Sure. So the I think the number one thing is don't let anyone if it's something that's already in you, something you want to do, don't let any naysayers tell you can't because you can. I mean, that was mainly, as I said, the reason I wrote that book is because I want kids to know that there aren't things that are off limits to them just because of any kind of exterior features. Engineering currently, there's a lot of white people and there's a lot of Asians. There's not a whole lot of black people, and it doesn't have to be that way. And that's why I wrote the book. And I guess another one is if your father tells you to do engineering, do it.
Ah, awesome right there. Awesome right there, indeed. Sweet. So, since you two are a podcast host, and this is far from your first rodeo, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
A question, you know, you actually were really good on and asking about the book and the origins of it and why I wrote it. And you asked about my background too. Maybe questions about people, I guess their future plans. You even asked about that in terms of the book, so that made perfect sense. I guess as a podcaster, I mean, I try to ask those type of questions too. Maybe questions that people aren't used to asking. Honestly, when it comes to podcasts, at least for me, I usually do a little bit of research on the guest beforehand, so I have some preset questions that I want to ask. But then during the conversation, it other questions come up, and I'm a lot of times even I'm more interested in asking questions based on what they said as opposed to questions that I had previously had at the ready. So just being an active listener when it comes to being a podcaster, being the host, it's really important because you could tease out other things that could be really interesting just based on listening to what the guest is saying. Sometimes I get the sense that a lot of podcasters they have their set questions and they ask them no matter what, as opposed to actually listening to what the guest says and let those questions possibly lead the conversation.
Ah, yeah, you can say that again. Yes, indeed, because sometimes it's better to not always ask the same questions every interview because that's sometimes you miss, like, I guess in a way you miss the forest from the trees in a way.
Yeah, and not only that, but I don't know if you've had this, but I've had guests that have asked for the questions beforehand, and so when they finally get those questions during the interview, it seems rather stilted because they practiced what they were going to say, and it doesn't sound as much of a conversation as it could have been if they didn't know the questions beforehand. I fully enjoy being on podcasts and having guests that aren't that insistent on knowing what the questions are beforehand, so you're having more of a free flowing conversation as opposed to almost like an interview. I asked the question that you knew was going that you knew was coming, and you gave me your prepared answer.
Oh yeah, you can say that again because I used to send those questions out, those generic ones, and I think I stopped doing that. My God, I think it was late 2018. I stopped doing that, and heck, even sometimes people will even send you printed out responses, and I'm like, I don't care about this. like, like I'm already reading through
Wow.
your stuff as usually beforehand, like usually their books, their past interviews, and besides that, they might even say something totally different when the conversation happens. Because I'm pretty sure we're the classic Mike Tyson phrase of everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Because it's like you may write something down, but like if I read this and expect you to say it, and something happens, and it's like, what am I going to do? Get flustered?
Wow. I'm glad that I've never experienced anything like that. People just asked for the questions beforehand. They didn't send answers before the actual interview. That'd be highly annoying. And for the ones that did ask for the question beforehand, those honestly, at least to me, those were the least interesting interviews that I've done. And you can tell because they're not as long as perhaps some of the other ones. Like I'll have questions, I'll have even more questions, but because they're just giving me these canned answers, I just cut it early.
Yeah, no surprise. And I guess the heck, even heck, even if you like weren't on TV, because the only time I've noticed, like I think there's only two occasions where folks actually want you to really give you written responses, as if you're going on the news to promote your book or something. And there was like this one other show that asked for like written responses. And I'm like, or just an idea of where I was going to go with it. And I'm like, okay, all right. But it's like the majority of like podcasts, and depending on the show itself, like they don't even need that. And you're right, because it's like, it's like if they're gonna have these canned answers, then what's the point? It's even less fun that way too.
Oh, certainly. That's what I tried to mention is it was less fun for me. That's why I cut it early. I was actually speaking with another podcaster maybe a couple of weeks ago, and she was telling me about a guest that she had on her podcast. And apparently, I guess the guy, well, he was a Toastmaster actually. He's a member of a Toastmasters group. And she said after the interview, after him listening to the interview himself, he wanted her to edit it to get rid of the ums. I guess he said a lot of ums in the interview, and he wanted her to edit the interview to get rid of them so that he wouldn't, I guess that the people in his Toastmasters group wouldn't judge him. And I remember asking her how much more time did it take you to edit the interview to get rid of these ums, and she said it took me another hour. And I was just like, wow, another hour to get rid of this guy's ums just because he doesn't want to upset his Toastmasters group. It's like, how about you get some validation within yourself, buddy? Like, who cares if your Toastmasters are upset with you? Well, they're gonna, I mentioned the odd counter before. They got odd counters for damn podcast interviews too. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, like I'm not surprised it took her a whole hour, because that's only one of the few downsides of Toastmasters, that they curse your ears and you hear every and filler word known to man when you're editing, if you edit your stuff. And like in the beginning, I used to try to take out every filler word I could out of podcast interviews. And then I think it was like 50 episodes in, I was like, all right, I quit. I can't do this anymore, because oh man, one person was a huge offender of it. I think it was like 33 ums. After 33, I just stopped counting and just shipped out what I had at the time and just put it out there. And I was like, all right, I quit. Like I was got to deal with it. And like no one really hears ums, to be honest, unless you're a Toastmaster. And even if they actually listen, they don't say anything unless they're saying every other sentence.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I mean, I did mention that Toastmasters is a great forum for practicing your public speaking, but you're right. Once you're a member of Toastmasters, it's really hard to hear all those filler words. But the majority of people in this world are not Toastmasters. So perhaps they're not as bothered with those filler words as perhaps Toastmasters are.
Ah, yeah, that's right. Got to get rid of that self-conscious, baby. That's right. Probably need to make everybody a bread warmer. I mean, Toastmaster.
Did you come up with that on the spot, or were you holding that in from the beginning?
Well, I borrowed that from another Toastmaster a few years ago. He has a few sayings for Toastmasters. He calls some members Toasties, some of the more seasoned members, he calls them Toasties. And since he was Sergeant at Arms, his emails that he had to send out the day of every meeting as a reminder, he'd be like, hey, greetings, bread warmers. And oh man, I'm still disappointed, because one day he actually had a whole. It was like the agenda from the Twilight Zone. Like there, he had weird titles for everybody. Like I forgot. I think he called the grammarian like the chief language enforcer or something. It was some crazy stuff. So yeah, ever since he said that a few years ago, I've just been saying that to random people, and folks who catch it, it's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, I would think it would be probably another Toastmaster to catch it if it was a non-Toastmaster. Like, what? What the hell? He's a bread worm. What the hell? The hell's they talking about? But yeah, that was pretty clever. Hopefully, that guy that came up with all these terms didn't take too much time in coming up with them, though. I will say that.
Hey, I just ran with it. He came up with it. I'm usually the guy that runs with the stupid jokes that other people say.
Yeah, what do you call them? Dad jokes? I think that's what they call them.
Oh yeah, I'm known for those too. Yep. And the key phrase is never stop. If they don't laugh, just keep going. And then if they do laugh, you keep going again, and then they'll leave with six-pack abs from all the laughter.
Yeah, you gotta fight through. Get them on your side.
Oh, man. Well, that's what I'm talking about indeed. Woohoo! So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2020 with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Well, when I was 25, I was working in engineering, and I thought that getting a degree in engineering meant you had to work as an engineer until it was time to retire. It never would have occurred to me to start all the various things that I have now. So if I had to go back to 25, I would have started all the things that I recently or started within the last few years. I would have started them back then.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That Mike Jones swag. Back then, he didn't want me. Now I'm hiding it all on me, baby. That's right.
Yes, Mike Jones. That's great. What happened to that guy? I don't know. Where is he? Where's Mike Jones?
I'm pretty sure he's chilling somewhere in Texas, I imagine.
hopefully he made some good money off of his songs.
That's right. But the main thing is it's about Mr. NT, the Neil Thompson himself. That's right. The natural Neil himself, baby. So for those who want to keep in magical contact with you, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
Sure. So if they want to learn more about the children's book, they can go to askuncleneil.com. And if they want to learn more about Teach the Geek, they can go to teachthegeek.com. And also, I have as you mentioned, I'm a podcaster. I talk to scientists and engineers about public speaking. And if they want to tune into those interviews, you can go to youtube.teachthegeek.com.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Head over to that wonderful teachthegeek.com, baby. Pick up 1,000 copies of his wonderful book for the kids, especially for those lovely curly haired folks in your wonderful family, baby. That's right. Get them the gift that keeps on giving and ask Uncle Neil about some more stuff that's going to be coming out through the power of science and exploration, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, any parting words for the folks still listening, my man?
Well, hopefully the people that are listening now were listening from the beginning. Hopefully we didn't lose anybody. I try to be interesting, damn it, every time I do these things. Why you gotta make me self-conscious about that, Dom? He's like, well, still here. What do you mean still here? You're here from the beginning, damn it. Nobody. But yeah, any kind of parting words. I mean, as I said, the book was written for 5 to 8-year-olds to know that there are no things that are off limits to you. But now that I think about it, that could apply to adults too. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of adults out there that think, maybe they got into a certain age and they can't do this because of that. But there's nothing off limits to the adults either. So, take that message.
This is your host, Don Brabin. Hope you enjoyed what you just heard. And if you really did, do me a solid and leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, wherever you're listening to. And subscribe to hear more because more is coming your way to advance you further than before.